Good afternoon, I'm Mahalia Joseph. C News is live at noon.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed with sports.
Trinidad and Tobago will sign the Foreign Accounts Tax Compliance Agreement. This from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley in an address to the nation that ended a short while ago. The Prime Minister said he's confident the United States will grant this country its request for an extension on the FACTA deadline.
We expect that the United States, having received our request for an extension and being party to all that is going on in this country and seeing exactly what is going on here, will treat Trinidad and Tobago as a country where the government is serious about cooperating and collaborating and complying with the requirements. And against that background, I have every confidence that the United States, against that background of this government cooperating and bringing to the fore what has been left to languish.
Dr. Rowley was asked what would be Trinidad and Tobago's position if the request is not granted.
It is obvious if we find ourselves in a situation where we have failed by way of opposition foolishness to vote the legislation in the parliament, then what we are saying is that we are prepared to accept the sanctions. What is the alternative?
Dr. Rowley has placed blame for the agreement not being signed on the opposition. He said their walkout of Parliament during the debate on the FATCA legislation was planned, noting that the action came as the Attorney General was pointing out that while in government they had 4 opportunities to see the legislation. He said Kamala Persad-Bissessar did the unforgivable.
She got up and did the unforgivable. She stood up while the Speaker was standing, and she deliberately refused to look in the Speaker's direction, held her gaze focused on the Attorney General, and started to challenge the chair, knowing full well and expecting that the Speaker will take action against her.
You're watching the C News Live Report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. The Ministry of Health has confirmed the birth of a baby with microcephaly. However, it said to date the case cannot be directly attributed to the Zika virus, and the assistance of the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization has been sought to make a clinical determination. According to a statement from the ministry, the mother was attended to privately and was not a patient of the Mount Hope Maternity Hospital, where the national screening effort is located. The ministry has asked for the family's privacy to be respected, and the ministry will keep the public updated as the new facts become available. It said Trinidad and Tobago registers approximately 12 cases of microcephaly yearly due to a variety of genetic causes. And a decomposing body has been found in Valencia, and it is believed to be the body of missing person Richard Jurity, who went missing about 2 weeks ago. Reports say the corpse was found at 8 p.m. yesterday. Both hands were bound. Returning to news from the political arena, opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar says she is willing to take Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to court for statements he made on a political platform last Tuesday. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar was speaking during the UNC's Monday night forum last evening.
The Prime Minister stood on a platform and accused the opposition of all kinds of things. My lawyers have those papers in their hands, and for all the lies that he perpetrated that Tuesday night on the platform, we will go legally for him. They cannot lie and lie and lie. Enough is enough. Yes, when you're on a political platform, they say you have political leeway. But imagine they say this bill has nothing to do with the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes? Nothing to do with Trinidad and Tobago. It's for American citizens and U.S. citizens.
She explained she has nothing to be afraid of.
And every member of parliament sitting in the parliament, is any one of us a U.S. citizen? No. Is any one of us a U.S. born resident and so on? No. So how could the Prime Minister stand on a platform and say them UNC opposition free jail? That is why they're not voting for the bill. Because if you tell us on the one hand it does not apply to Trinidad and Tobago citizens, then it does not apply to any of us in the Parliament.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley responded to this a short while ago and said he's waiting to see how this plays out, and he wants to hear what the opposition leader will tell the court. And on another contentious topic, the Prime Minister responded to statements by President Anthony Carmona in his Republic Day address. The Prime Minister was asked about his thoughts on President Carmona, saying that he would put his criminal justice experience to use to continue to fight the good fight and meet the challenges that accompany his attempts not only to confront and assist the man-child in crisis, but to proffer solutions that can work.
I speak as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and I will confine myself to my remit under the Constitution.
Time now for a look at this afternoon's weather forecast.
Hot, sunny conditions are expected across Trinidad and Tobago through this afternoon, with a slight chance of a shower over western Trinidad. Likely to see a high of 32 degrees Celsius in Tobago and 35 degrees Celsius in Trinidad. Meanwhile, east of the Windward Islands, a broad area of thunder showers and squally winds is being investigated by forecasters as weather planes fly into the system this afternoon. Forecasters expect heavy rain with strong winds gusting to tropical storm force at times to impact the Windward Islands from late this afternoon in Barbados, reaching the other islands as early as Wednesday morning. Today's seas for boaters will be 1 to 2 meters with easterly winds of 10 to 15 knots, but seas will deteriorate through Wednesday as the system nears. Low tide at 3:30 p.m. is followed by a high tide at 9:30 p.m. That is the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Ian Wallace.
And now we're going to speak with C News meteorologist Ian Wallace to tell us more about what's happening in the weather. Good afternoon, Ian.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Well, today the system seems to be slightly better organized. At this time, the hurricane scientists and forecasters are supposed to be flying into the system to find out exactly what the vital signs are of this disturbance. They'll be going in to measure wind speeds, temperature, pressure at the surface as well as at the top of the system, and obviously to determine its exact track and position. In terms of the system, it is set to start affecting the Leeward Island, the Lesser Antilles from this afternoon. In fact, in parts of Barbados, they're set to see some squally winds from this afternoon and some torrential rains as they go through the latter half of Tuesday and into Tuesday night. Meanwhile, across the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, from Tobago into Grenada and St. Vincent and into Trinidad as well, likely to begin to see some effects as we go into Wednesday. So from as early as Wednesday morning, we'll be seeing those heavy rains and those strong winds, and some of those winds may well be up to tropical storm force. Now, it is correct to note that at this time, even though the system is not a tropical storm, it may well obviously still come across the islands as a very unsettled system. So despite the fact of it developing any further, the risk for landslides, flash flooding, street flooding, as well as the gusty winds is definitely something to be concerned about. So the ODPM is advising everyone to stay calm and monitor the system. This disturbance currently is over some very warm waters, 30 degrees Celsius out there in the Atlantic. It has a high chance, 90%, of developing, and may well be named a depression or a tropical storm as we go through this afternoon. The next update from the National Hurricane Center will be at 2 p.m. Obviously, the National Meteorological Service here in Trinidad and Tobago, the TTMS, is also monitoring the system, and they are the ones responsible for issuing any sort of warnings or watches. So at this time, then, everyone in the Eastern Caribbean is looking to feel the effects of this system as early as from tonight and then going into Wednesday morning. And the system will likely be moving across the islands throughout Wednesday, so we won't be out of this until possibility of the middle of Thursday, if not a touch later. Mahalia.
Okay, thank you so much, Ian, for that update. Now to some other news now. Police officers say government has to do more than simply put money into the Ministry of National Security if it is to get crime under control. General Secretary of the Police Service Social and Welfare Association Anand Ramasa told CTV's morning show while getting the money is good, government needs to ensure there's proper policies to deal with crime in both long-term and short-term strategies.
And I would like the government to revisit the last budget and the things that you said that you were going to do. Let's talk about the manpower audit. Let's get it done. Let's talk about rebranding of the police service, getting that new uniform, getting that new look. Let's get it done. Let's talk about the police management authority. Let's talk about selection of a commissioner of police. Let's talk about absorption of special reserve police officers. So what we see, in essence, is we see the allocation. It almost is, as I said, it's the default button. You can't say we are not doing anything because we are allocating the money.
According to Mr. Ramasa, allocation needs to be tied with proper performance.
Money is always welcome in an organization, but if you're interested in law enforcement, you're interested in national security, you want to see the detection rate go up. Do not just say you allocate the money, because that's just cosmetic. That's a given. You have to allocate money. Don't say you're doing what you have to do. But let's go to the technical aspect. Let's go to the operational aspect. Let's go to the tactical aspects. Let's go with what the organization needs to improve.
President of the Pharmacy Board, Andrew Rahman, says there seems to be a shortage of injectable medication for psychiatric health patients.
It has been unavailable for quite some time, and a relative was complaining about her relative's inability to get his medication. That medication is the same medication that mental health officers would visit the homeless and ensure that they get their medication on a monthly basis.
He's hoping that government addresses the availability of pharmaceuticals in the upcoming budget. He said there is an issue with the procurement of drugs, but there is another issue which needs to be looked at.
The suppliers don't cut the supply to the government immediately. They usually forbear for quite some months and months and months before they stop supplying. So the main issue really is the payment, the timely payment to suppliers.
Now Nasira Mohammed is here to tell us what's happening in the world of sport. Nasira?
Well, Mahalia, it's cricket. The final T20 match being played between the West Indies and Pakistan in Abu Dhabi is happening right now. The West Indies are looking to save pride as they face Pakistan in this last T20 match in Abu Dhabi. There are two changes to the squad, with Samuel Badri left out due to a groin strain, and Evan Lewis was also dropped. Their replacements are Chadwick Walton and Kesrick Williams. Pakistan won the toss and are bowling first. And to give you an update, the score is currently 16 for 2 after 4 overs. The out batsmen are Johnson Charles with 5, and Chadwick Walton not really making a good contribution in his first match. He was out for duck. And moving on to more news of cricket, he was one of 2 Trinbagodians on the West Indies under-19 team, which won the World Cup in Bangladesh earlier this year. Now Jed Gully has been given the opportunity of a lifetime, a 6-month scholarship to the Darren Lehman Cricket Academy in Adelaide, Australia. Let's take a look. With just over 2 weeks until he departs for Australia, Jed is very excited to start this new experience in his young life. Gully was very surprised at being chosen, and is currently the only young West Indian chosen for this year to participate in the program.
I think it was based on the World Cup there. I think they maybe saw me from there and saw my talent from there, and I think that's the reason I got this scholarship here, so I'm going to go out there and make the best of the opportunity.
Since the under-19's title win, Gully and his teammates have all returned to school, with some going on to play for their national teams or in the 2016 edition of the Caribbean Premier League. Gully's family was shocked when they heard the news, but have been offering him their fullest support.
Oh, they were pretty surprised. They were really happy for me, that they say, this opportunity come, I take it with both hands, but it's a great feeling, but they say also go out there and make the best of the opportunity to better myself and to better my cricket as well.
For the past 2 weeks, Gully has been training with the TNT Red Force team and is hoping to cement a place on the squad upon his return and eventually get that coveted West Indies call-up.
I'm going to come back here and be a part of the trainer senior team set up again. I hope I get be a part of the team like for a good while, and then hopefully get called for the West Indies senior team.
Nasira Mohammed, C Sports. And in other news, in a view towards tightening the belt, the Sport Company of Trinidad and Tobago has set up offices in Couva at the newly built cycling velodrome. After paying rents in excess of $200,000 a month at 111 to 117 Henry Street in Port of Spain for nearly a decade, the Sport Company finally took the decision to relocate, which represents a huge savings as they try to maximize revenues. The Henry Street venue previously housed the Spectacular Tent, which was a popular destination for calypso lovers through the years. Also on the cards is a move by the Ministry of Sport. They had to leave their current address at 12 Abercrombie Street, Port of Spain, and make the switch to the now vacant premises at the corner of Elizabeth Street and Tragrete Road in Woodbrook, opposite the Oval. This location was only recently vacated by the Ministry of Public Utilities, which is now occupying the nearby offices at 1 Alexandra Street, which went unoccupied for several years despite a hefty rent being paid by the government. And on to news of cycling. Nicholas Paul captured bronze in the men's keirin at the UCI Classic 2 Fenouil France Trophy in France. Riding for Team WCC, Paul was initially relegated in the first round, but he stormed back through a repechage and was only narrowly beaten by Vigier of France with Ceci of Italy in the finals. This followed his gold medal performance on Thursday at the Velodrome de Bruges, where he beat the previous flying 200-meter mark set by Justin Roberts in Mexico in 2013. Paul clocked a sizzling 10.276 to better Roberts' mark of 10.317 to become the fastest junior sprinter in Trinidad and Tobago. He also won this event in France. After two solid competitions within the space of a few days, Paul has returned to the World Cycling Center to continue his training before returning home on November 20th. And in news of football now, the English Football Association is investigating allegations England manager Sam Allardyce used his role to negotiate a £400,000 deal and offer advice on how to get around rules on player transfers. The Telegraph newspapers in England has footage, it says, is from August, of Allardyce meeting with men claiming to represent a Far East firm and appearing to tell them that third-party ownership rules can be avoided. The 61-year-old has yet to respond to the allegations, while the FA has asked to see the paper's filmed recordings. During the meeting with the businessmen who were undercover reporters, it is alleged Allardyce said it was not a problem to bypass the rules and he knew of agents who were doing it all the time. It is further alleged by the paper that a deal was struck when the England boss worth £400,000 for him to represent the company of the Far East investors and to be a keynote speaker at events. Allardyce told the undercover reporters that any arrangements would have to be cleared by the FA. The FA, however, was due to meet today when new chairman Greg Clark and chief executive Martin Glenn must decide whether the issue is one of poor judgment or something more serious. And now back home now, national senior netball team member Samantha Wallace has been drafted by the New South Wales Swifts for the 2017 Australian netball season. Wallace was part of the Calypso Girls team who participated in the Netball World Cup in Sydney, Australia in 2015, where she stamped her mark and emerged as one of the top scorers in the tournament. Since then, she was drafted for the English League, where she played for the Hertfordshire Mavericks. And that was your sport for today.
And here's a look now at what's taking place in the region.
Barbados is today bracing for the possible impact of a tropical depression. Local forecasters say they continue to monitor the progress of a developing weather system, which is expected to affect the island with moderate to heavy periods of rain, thunderstorms and gusty winds from midnight into tomorrow morning. As a result, Barbadians are being told to be on the alert. Emergency stakeholders are said to be at meetings this morning to deal with the likelihood of a storm. In St. Lucia, there is also concern. There is the expectation that the system could reach the island tomorrow. The Director of Met Services says all must be prepared for the patterns to come. With a soft loan of $1.8 billion from the Islamic Development Bank, Suriname will invest $1.3 billion from that sum to finance a series of more than 40 projects in energy and infrastructure as part of President Desi's Bouterse's government's framework for the Stabilization and Restoration Program 2016 to 2018. Meanwhile, the government asserted that Suriname is above its 2016 fiscal targets and is committed to an International Monetary Fund agreement to stabilize the economy, despite claims by an Associated Press report in the media last week. The release said that monthly data indicated that the country's international reserves are increasing, inflationary pressures are abating, and the exchange rate is beginning to stabilize. Following reported local mosquito transmission of the Zika virus infection, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Monday issued a Zika virus travel notice for St. Kitts Nevis. Because the Zika virus is primarily spread by mosquitoes, CDC recommends that travelers to St. Kitts and Nevis protect themselves from mosquito bites. Mosquitoes that spread Zika are aggressive daytime biters. They also bite at night. There is no vaccine or medicine for Zika virus. The best way to avoid the Zika virus infection is to prevent mosquito bites.
In a look at some international news now, it was a battle between the lawyer and the salesman, and for the most part the lawyer came out on top. The two candidates clashed over jobs, temperament and tax in a debate watched by up to 100 million viewers. We have more in this report.
After 90 minutes of trading blows, it was time to find a more welcoming arena. Her fans will see this as a victory lap. But to win involves some spin. Donald Trump took the unusual step of entering the press room himself, as both candidates declared themselves the champion.
Donald Trump won the hands down, and more importantly, she proved she couldn't be president.
The political drama gripped viewers in the US. They cheered and jeered as the combat continued, but it's unclear what impact it will have.
Overall disappointed. You know, I didn't hear a lot of reasons to vote for either candidate. I heard a lot of tit for tat. I heard a lot of attacks.
I'm sure he gave it a try, and he didn't come off as stupid or insensitive as he normally would. And that I got to give him some respect on that one.
The debate was fun. It was comical. I got what I expected. Hillary represented totally. She said, check my resume and then come talk to me. Trump, on the other hand, gave a lot of fluff.
Around the world, they gathered for the contest. They tuned in China after searching for it online.
I personally like Trump's character, and he feels like a fighter. But from today's performance, I think Clinton was more like a mature politician, and Trump looked like a bit of a misfit.
There was no humbling at the Hofstra, as some had anticipated. But the debate has made history, and not just in viewing figures. Amidst the noise, it's been forgotten that this is the first time a woman has been on the presidential debate stage.
And that brings us to the end of the C News report at noon. C News, powered by a team of journalists and producers across the Republic and the region, on television, radio and online.
C News, your country, our job.